Hey, we are Anberlin here at the Best Buy exclusive DVD, kind of a behind-the-scenes adventure. 4 songs off our new record, New Surrender. And so let's just go around. Like, Dion, what do you think the biggest difference between the previous records and this record is?
I think we definitely spent a lot more time on song arrangements. I paid much more attention to that than previous albums, and part of that was due to Neil Alvaron really pushing us to pay attention and not fall into the same patterns that we did with songwriting in the past.
I agree. I mean, and plus just spending more time in writing together, I thought was a big deal, you know. What do we have, like 20-something songs?
I think it's 28.
28, yeah, that's a big, I mean, we normally just go with like 13 or 14 and just kind of go from there. But, yeah, and then plus Christian being in the band, you know, is a big difference. And so being able to write with someone else was cool, so.
Joey, how do you feel about that, writing with Christian?
Well, a lot of on the older stuff or whatever, like, you know, when we actually got to jam out stuff with Friendship for the first time since we were thrust into the studio with Blueprints, it was like just a big difference with us just playing the songs together. And then going in with Cities, there was so much planning and everything like that, but it was still, you know, a lot of songs that, you know, followed this, you know, similar formulas and stuff. So we got in to do this record with someone that comes from a different school of thought or whatever, helping out with this stuff. It definitely kind of opens up your eyes to different ideas.
What was the differences? What do you think the main differences of working with Acceptance and Anberlin writing styles?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, I think Joey is a very good songwriter, you know what I mean? And he is, I guess, a very experienced songwriter. You know, he'd already written 3 albums worth of material. So, I mean, I felt blessed coming in and to be able to work with someone as talented as Joey.
Everybody, tell us one song on this record that you're most proud of. Like, what's one thing that, you know, for you would stood out on bass, and give us a technique or something that kind of gave you inspiration on that song.
I've never thought about that, Steven. Well, I mean, I did try a few different things. One of them, on Retrace, for instance, I played the whole song with fingers, which I've never done on any of our albums before. But also, like, I just really tried to lock in with Nate and, like, what he was doing a little bit more, just because, like, what the guitar's doing, I wanted more of, like, a bass groove behind, like, the picking parts that the guitars are doing, because, I mean, just a straight line would have just sounded kind of super boring and wouldn't have complimented the song. So, I don't know. I guess that's one that kind of sticks out. Like, just playing that one is just really fun.
Yeah, I mean, like he was saying, like Neil, like challenged Dion and I to like do like bass lines that fits drum. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that would match up. So it'd be cool. I'd say Resistance for me. I've been wanting to do that marching snare thing since I was like 14, so I got to do it and I was stoked. But yeah, and it's just, you know, it's aggressive, which was cool. I really like how it's pretty driving the whole time, but I think it's creative, and I think that's probably the one I spend the most time like thinking about and like thinking which would fit each part perfectly. So, yep.
I don't know, there's a lot of, like, we got to play with so many awesome guitar tones and sounds on this record that, like, there's a lot of, like, guitar-wise anyway, there's a lot of moments for me that I love on the record, but the last song, I don't even know how to pronounce it.
It's just Miserable. Just call it Miserable.
Miserable. MS-20. Like, just the tones that we got on that, and just the, like, epic feeling that it ended up having and everything. Like, you know, like, the only goal with, because what you handed me, like, the 2 chord progressions on a Wurlitzer or whatever, and just let me do whatever. So the goal was to top Finn and epicness, and I think we did that. But there are a lot of just moments all over the place, and, like, even aside from guitar, just song-wise, there are a lot of moments that I love.
I probably agree with Joey, just in, like, on any previous record I'd ever done, I always felt like guitars were, like, the last thing getting done, and we're, like, very rushed. So it was just, like, finding the tone and, like, okay, we'll just do it. And a lot of times we just did the same tones. And on this record, it was, like, whatever we wanted to do, any instrumentation we could think of, like, whatever you know, it was open-ended. It was like, okay, well, what, for every song was like, what do we want? Do you want a freaking banjo? Like, what do you want? You could just do it. So, you know, there was parts of every song. I mean, I love the record as a whole. and I think every song has something very interesting and unique going on in it.
Good tempo? Alrighty, let's do it. Alright, here we go. So all these years, you know, we've experienced a lot of new and different bands and learned new and different music from each other. Going back in life, like, see, because there's people watching right now that, you know, kind of look up to Anberlin. Like, who did you look up to as far as your perspective instrument? Like, who did you try to mimic in styles? And who are some bands that you think that, you know, people out there watching this should check out? Maybe not necessarily like in the scene, but I'm saying more or less like what musicians inspired you to do what you're doing?
When I first started playing bass, I started out taking lessons, and then my bass instructor moved away. That was around the time that, like, my brother gave me, like, an Operation Ivy, like, a copied tape of Operation Ivy, and, like, that was, like, around the time that I heard Green Day's Kerplunk, and, yeah, like, 14 years old, that was a pretty big deal for me, because, like, you know, up to then, I was listening to whatever my parents had, you know. So, like, Mike Dirnt from Green Day and Matt Freeman from Operation Ivy, and then later on Rancid, like, those two bass players are really what, like, shaped my early bass playing. And then later on, Jason Black from Hot Water just blew my mind when I first heard that band. So that's kind of my three, I guess, that shaped what I do. So you should listen. You probably know who Green Day is, a little band called Green Day, but you should also really listen to Hot Water Music. Good old Florida boys.
I'd probably say, as far as like style and like the whole like hitting hard thing or whatever, it's probably John Bonham, Led Zeppelin. Just because he did stuff that was different too, but also like he would always freaking jam, which I'd never seen any drummer that did it before them. You know what I mean? Like drummers always just kind of played and sat there, but yeah, his stuff too, man. Some of those records, he just done some like insane stuff. So that, and then you know Beatles too, more like the simple side. A lot of our songs, you know, like especially older stuff, is super simple. You know, Ringo, like everyone thinks he sucks and always says, I mean, you know what I mean? Like people just like so simple, but some of his stuff is rad and it's super like just simple, but I think it fits the song the best, you know. And so I try and kind of focus on that and what would fit the song the best.
I think the first cassette tape I ever got was that I talked my grandma into buying me because I had an angel on the cover. Was Van Halen 1984, and it was like the white cassette, you know, that we got at like I think Kmart or something. I remember listening to that, and I didn't understand how someone could make these noises or whatever, you know. But at the time, I didn't really have any kind of like, you know, scale to put this on, so I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, still no, but I don't know. There are a lot of people that go unappreciated. Like Dan Honer, Sunny Day Real Estate, is an amazing guitar player and like tasteful, and everything that he puts in is just beautiful. The last couple of Sensefield records were amazing and definitely helped when I was getting stuff going for like Blueprints and stuff like that. I was listening to Tonight and Forever like on repeat all the time.